When San Francisco drafted Ricky Pearsall in the first round last year, many analysts said that was a reach and really not going to pay off in the long term. And even headed into his second year, a lot of people had questions about him being San Francisco's true number one wide receiver. But after 3 weeks of the season so far, he currently ranks third in receiving yards with 281, and his 264 receiving yards downfield leads the entire NFL. And headed forward, I only think his role is going to continue to expand for San Francisco's offense as Brock Purdy is finally returning, and Brandon Ayuk's timetable is still uncertain for San Francisco. So in this video, I wanted to go over Pearsall's most recent game against the Cardinals where he put up 117 yards, his second 100-yard game of the season, and really examine what he's done well as what he struggled with so we can fully understand what he'll offer San Francisco headed into this Jaguars game as well as the rest of the season. Initially to start out, what really jumps out on Pearsall's film to me is how he's a true number one wide receiver. He can play inside and outside, and in big time moments, he'll rise to the occasion. The best play to really exemplify this point is here on 4th and 2, with the game resting on Pearsall's shoulders essentially. On this play, the Cardinals are running man coverage with safety help over the top, with Pearsall on this play running a fade pattern, but first on this fade pattern, he's going to set it up by using almost a hesitation move to draw this corner up and not allow him to get deep and cut off his route. Right here, for instance, you can really see how Pearsall faking inwards on this play gets the corner to commit there and gives Pearsall the outside release, and then at that point, his 4.41 speed takes over. As great as his release was on this play though, probably better was his catch. He does a great job of tracking these, and I can't really believe he was able to catch on his helmet almost here. This was extremely challenging, but nevertheless, Pearsall makes these catches look easy. Another part of Pearsall's game that's hard to ignore on this tape is his ability to burn defensive backs because of his understanding of their coverages. He's able to alter his route based on what the defensive back is running. To really show this, we're going to be watching Ricky Pearsall running a crosshair pattern or a deep end pattern, but against two separate coverages. Here, for example, he's facing man coverage, so rather than just running straight to his crosshair pattern, he's going to be setting up this defensive back. To do this, he's going to be running a fade or almost like a wheel pattern here to try to get this defensive back to open up his hips and run with him to really affect his change of direction. And right here, you can see how his hips are wide open, which allows Pearsall to break across the middle. And at that point, this defensive back is just playing catch up. In a similar way on this play, Pearsall once again is running a deep in or crosser pattern, but this time the Cardinals defense is running zone coverage, so he completely changes the way he runs this route. Rather than trying to sell anything to his man on this play, for example, Pearsall is running a much more direct route. He doesn't fake outwards, he doesn't use any hezzy move, but as soon as he identifies the zone coverage, he's running this route extremely quickly and crisp. And because of this variation in his route, he's able to catch it right in front of this defensive back and then turns it up the field to get additional yards. Another key reason Pearsall is able to consistently get open down the field is his understanding of defensive backs' leverages and how to attack them. On this play, for example, this defensive back is responsible for the deep third of this field, so Pearsall is attacking his outside shoulder to get him to commit that direction. And on this play, you can see how 29 starts to open up his hips, and as soon as Pearsall sees that, he breaks in hard, and because of his change of direction and athleticism, once again, Mac Jones is able to find him deep over the middle. On top of Pearsall's insane routes, he also can make great acrobatic catches, routinely going outside of his frame like we saw during his Florida days. And here on this play, running a curl, Pearsall is able to show off both of those skills. First, he's able to get off this press man coverage by getting violent with his hands, and I like how he sells like he's faking up the field before breaking back hard to this ball, and honestly, this might be one of Pearsall's most impressive catches of his career up to this point. He's coming back to the ball, instantly has to change where his body is going, but nevertheless is able to reach outside of his frame and bring this in. Pearsall has also improved with his ability to use his hands throughout his routes. Specifically, he does a much better job coming in and out of his breaks when the defensive back tries to get grabby. Here on this play, for example, San Francisco is facing 3rd and 3 with Pearsall running an out pattern and this defensive back manned up on him. And you can see right here at the top of Pearsall's route, this defensive back is trying to slow him down by grabbing onto him, but because Pearsall keeps his right side active, he's able to create separation coming out of his break, and then with the ball in there, he adjusts his route and makes the excellent catch, giving San Francisco another set of downs. The final aspect of Pearsall's receiving game that has really impressed me this year for San Francisco is how strong he is at the catch point, even when he knows he's absolutely going to get destroyed by a defensive back. To really illustrate this point, on this play, San Francisco is running a play action pass with Ricky Pearsall running a crosser, and right here, he's able to identify this defensive back coming up to absolutely destroy him if Mac Jones throws this. But unlike a lot of wide receivers that would get fearful and drop it right here, Pearsall prepares himself for the hit and is great at the point of contact. Outside of Pearsall's receiving skills, he's also excelled as a blocking wide receiver, which is vital in Shanahan's offense because you know the saying, if you can't block, you don't get the rock. And it's not just his willingness or attitude towards blocking, but he's also really improved his technique. He does a nice job of executing hook blocks and even has driven some defensive backs down the field. With all these positives to Ricky Pearsall's game though, he is still such a young player, so he does have some areas he needs to continue to improve if he wants to be a better wide receiver for San Francisco headed forward. With one of the most notable in my opinion being his overall playing strength, I think he can add a lot here because he did miss the majority of his rookie campaign with a gunshot wound, so he's a little bit behind the 8 ball compared to some veterans. And you can really see this on his tape because when he is going after some safeties or cornerbacks with his blocks, sometimes they're able to attack him and drive him back. And I also think adding more playing strength will help him break more tackles going forward. Pearsall could also do a much better job of becoming a blocking wide receiver when it is a passing play and someone else gets the ball. I think this could spring some major plays for San Francisco's offense, and him not making some key blocks could have potentially taken away a few yards. Pearsall also has more interceptions than touchdowns currently when being targeted, so headed forward, he needs to do a better job of becoming the defensive back when the quarterback makes an errant throw. I know these aren't all on him, but I do think he could have done a much better job of trying to break these up. On top of Pearsall's playing concerns, he also needs to prove he can remain healthy for an entire NFL season as he's dealt with hamstring injuries and is currently coming off a knee injury. Even with these concerns to San Francisco's former first-round picks game though, when I'm looking at Ricky Pearsall, I see a player that's going to be extremely dominant for Kyle Shanahan's offense this year if he's able to remain healthy. He can run every single route to perfection, he can play outside and inside, and he can even get jet sweeps. In other words, he has the potential to continue to be San Francisco's true #1 wide receiver this year, and not even just San Francisco's, but one of the more dominant wide receivers across the entire National Football League. But ultimately, these are just some of my thoughts on Ricky Pearsall, really proving all of his doubters wrong so far this season, and I want to hear your thoughts about him down below as a player. Do you think he'll continue to develop and really be San Francisco's #1 wide receiver for the foreseeable future, or do you think he's a solid slot wide receiver, but more like a #2 wide receiver for San Francisco's team? It would also mean a ton to me if you did enjoy this video, if you could go ahead and like and subscribe. It truly helps out the channel a ton. And as always, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.